Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel, and I'm your host for LT Productions, and you're watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Beyond the Gates with my weekly review, and that is week 10. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Like this video, subscribe, share it, and also you can leave your comments below. I should not be before you too long. This week has been 3 days of episodes. Not saying that this week hasn't been good, because this week's been great. It's just that I think that this week the writers have focused on getting right to the point and getting right to the action, and it's not going to take that long to get through it. So let's get into these week's episodes. Okay, all right. So, we've been waiting for this moment, and I think that it's really paying off. But anyways, this is the week of Ted and Nicole's anniversary. Eva's doing everything that she can to get everything situated. Ted and Nicole are trying to steal some time away to, just enjoy each other. Eva chimes in and basically says, look, I got some things I got to ask you guys and got to interrupt this, da-da-da-da-da. After they finally get done with that, they pull out some strawberries, Ted does, and we're going to feed it to Nicole, and then all of a sudden Mona comes in. Mona, who is she like the, what is the word? No, I can't even remember. Kind of like Jeffrey is on Bel Air. That's what I think. But anyways, we know Mona anyways. That's Laura's aunt, the one that's in the hospital this week. So what's going on is that she had some things to submit to them in regards to what they want to do to their home. I guess just upgrading the garden area and all this good stuff. She said, I'm not married to these ideas, but here they are. And then, of course, Nicole and Ted are looking at each other. Ted's ready for her to go, and Nicole's like, let's just get this over with, whatever, blah, 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 blah. All right. So, I think, who is it first? Let's start with Chelsea. Chelsea goes and talks to Martin. No, okay, this is what happened first. Martin, he had his dream. Again, we're getting flashbacks. All we can see is some car headlights at this moment and hearing someone yell. He's alarmed, but anyways, he gets up. Chelsea does come over, and they talk for a little while. Chelsea says that something different happened after she hooked up with her threesome. Normally, it's a collective effort, and this time, me and the wife were really into it, while the husband was over there just sitting there watching. And Martin was like, well, it's not irregular for a guy really wanting to see two women go at it anyway, sexually. So, but what is the issue? She's like, well, I don't have any labels about myself. I'm trying to figure myself out and all that. But I really loved my time and can't stop thinking about the time that I had with the wife and getting to know her more on a personal level. And she said, well, I think I'm kind of just out here kind of odd or whatever. Martin said, it's perfectly fine. You're young and you're still trying to figure it out, and you're trying to see what works for you. Go on and do what you do. This is one of the most progressive shows that we've seen in a while. They've tried to do it on Days of Our Lives, but y'all fans kind of like are courting, but for some reason you want to blame the writers for stuff. I'm not saying that the head writer at the time was doing everything right, but I think that y'all put a lot of heat on a person that saved the show. And I think that Days of Our Lives would have been canceled at least about 3, 4, 5 years ago. I think it was on its way. But he's been the only one that's been able to renew the show for 2 years. And now it's back to 1, under now a new writer, even with the promise of better storytelling. Whatever. So I really celebrate Beyond the Gates for just forward thinking, because everyone isn't just into man, woman, and people are getting more comfortable with their sexual identity and preferences and kinks and things that they actually like. So bravo to you for at least talking about it and not making it taboo or making it so salacious these days, especially in the black community. White people have this freedom, and for some reason the black community, it's very frowned upon. So kudos to y'all. We'll get back to Chelsea in just a few minutes because, yeah. Martin does have that dream that he tells to Vernon. And basically, he's like, I really just want these dreams to go away and all that, da 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 da. They had went away for a little bit, but I think it was because I was preoccupied with Terrell. But since things are settled, now they're coming back. Vernon suggested that possibly they'll see Nicole to see if we can work through all of this stuff. Vernon says, or somebody said, I don't want them to get involved. I forgot if Martin or Vernon said it. But it's just like, no, we don't want to put that burden on her. So now I'm understanding, because it seemed like Vernon and Anita were more closer to Martin than Nicole and Ted. I think through whatever type of trauma that Martin went through, it bonded them closer, and they got more of a secret trauma bond relationship than the actual type of relationship I thought it was, in my opinion. Leslie. We see Leslie then bought all these wigs, and we seeing all her personalities. You know, we thought possibly it was the ID or whatever, but we're not really getting that. Leslie is crazy, but because we know how far she will go, at least to run down somebody just to get her daughter inside the door into the Richardson's home. However, I'm ready for Leslie to crank it up a little bit more. I would love to see it. But anyway, she's put on all these wigs. She acts like it's a really good thing that she's doing this. Eva comes home at this point. They talk like as to how that they're going to make this plan work. Leslie's a little bit more saying that they think that they should milk the Duprees of all their money, and then we can't milk them no more, and then we reveal it. And Eva's like, why are we doing that? Why don't we just stick to where we're at and all that good stuff? You know, we never really worried about money to that degree. Well, there was a flashback that Leslie had where after Alan's funeral, she's looking at his obituary and all that and was having a moment. Eva came home from hairdressing and seeing how wore out Eva was for doing people's hair. And Leslie's like, you know what? It looks like this is coming over to Fairmont Crest area. You know, we deserve more and we should get all this, They always had enough to make it. You could just basically call them the Evans family off of Good Times. I mean, when you think about how some people live, they were saying like dessert is a treat if they actually were able to handle it. Alan had life insurance money, but she says that she used it to pay for all of his medical bills, so it didn't really amount to anything. Who knows if that is the truth or not, but we shall see. Whatever. Danny and should we go there yet? No, not yet. We'll get there. Ashley, just to take a little break. Ashley and Derek. Of course, Derek is moving in, and some of the stuff that Ashley just knows is just not going to fit, and all this good stuff. They're having squabbles on where to put stuff because Ashley's got this A-type personality where she just wants things organized a certain way. Everything has its place. And Derek is the one that says, if there's space, that's the place that things are supposed to go to. Ashley's mom comes over, just kind of helping them navigate through these growing pains of trying to live together. That's about it for them. Anything else in between that time? No. So we're just going to skip on to Nicole and Ted's wedding anniversary. Everyone's coming. Chelsea goes and checks on Danny just to say, hey, if you don't want to go, we don't have to. I can hang out with you and we can watch Baldwin Hills. I said, shout out to y'all bringing back the nostalgia of the black culture in the early 2000s. Baldwin Hills was originally a BET original. I think they had DC and Miami and all that good stuff. So shout out to y'all. We can do all that. But Danny said, no, I'm good. I would not miss my sister's thing. I know you're thinking I'm going to crash out or something. No, we're going to celebrate. And when Chelsea saw her in a bathrobe, Danny, she thought that, oh, something's wrong. But she said, no, I'm about to go take my shower and then I'll be along the way. So she gets Chelsea out of the house and we find out that Andre is there. He comes downstairs with his shirt off. I didn't realize how small he was. I think his clothes make him look bulky. Not in a like he's big or whatever. I just thought that there was a little bit more brawn to him in a way. But yeah. They were considering what if they went public with what they're doing. Danny said that's something to consider, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. So as Danny's getting ready, we see a flashback of the time that her and Bill were getting ready to go to her parents' function or whatever, and he wanted to make her late by having sex with her, but she said no, we can't be late, but it was just something that I'm still glad that they're not making this an easy transition, but it's just like she's getting better. But hey, I can't forget the last 20-something years that I've been with this man. I think that is one of the most realest things that could ever happen, and I'm glad that they're keeping it real even on a soap opera. That's not a real, how can I say this, normal social matter or social issues out there like that. I mean, it's really a lot about mental health and mental wellness, and how do you come out of this place of depression and manic depression and all this other stuff. So I think that they're doing a good job navigating Danny through what she's going through. Let's see. But there was, I shouldn't have talked about this yet. Naomi, Jacob, Derek, Ashley are at some other place. Chelsea was already there with the wife that she just had a time with. She said, look, I'm wanting to get to know you more on an intimate level. And long story short, the wife agreed to it. And just, I'm going to let my husband know in regards to that. So I don't know how that's going to turn out, because sometimes you could just be turned out by a certain individual or whatever. In these type of situations, I wonder if Chelsea gonna steal this girl from her. I wonder if there is an erratic Danny that's in Chelsea. I wonder if that's gonna be something, because that's the first thing in my mind, like, oh, she gonna steal him, and possibly the husband will just get mad and probably there, but I think that she gonna steal her, in my opinion. So Chelsea and the girl, I think her name's not Anita, I don't know her name, whatever, joins the rest of the crowd as Naomi did pull her over. They were talking about relationship advice and being with someone. Jacob and Naomi, they lived together before they got married, and it's just about compromise and listening to each other, Anita said, as long as you're willing to talk through even the difficult stuff and being honest, I think everything will work out fine. Vernon and Leslie and Mark. Well, before we get there, I'm sorry, I kind of messed up the time by talking about Chelsea and Danny, but whatever. Leslie was sitting down with Ashley's mom and Mona, and she was saying how much she really loved them and appreciated them, and they were looking at her like, what's going on? Act like you're about to say goodbye to her or whatever. And she said, no, I read something that says that you should really tell your friends and tell your loved ones how you feel about them, blah, 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 and that's what she's trying to do more of. So Mona joins in, but she doesn't go to the depth that Leslie did as far as this whole love situation. After those two leave, Leslie's still there, and she sees Vernon and Mark. So she sees them, and she goes up to them like a crazy fan, in a way. I'm such a fan, and then, to me, I think she was throwing shade at them and just saying, you're not as great as you think that you are, by saying that, oh, I remember that you made it really safe for aliens and something to be safe to walk around. What's the big gorilla man person to walk around safe? So it's just like she was toying with them, acting like she really was a fan of them, but wasn't. She even did this selfie type situation, which was weird. I'm surprised that some things aren't really adding up when Leslie's doing things, because it's like, you just revealed yourself to Martin. Martin could have remembered you, but he didn't, but whatever. But we find, because of something that happens later on. So anyways, Leslie gets home. She talks with Eva as she's getting dressed, and also her getting dressed and all that good stuff. Eva's trying one more time. Like, let's just back out of this. I think it's important that Ted knows about who I am. But why has it got to be this way? Not this way. And Leslie's like, look, no, don't cower out on me. This has to be done this way, blah, 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 blah. They get themselves over to the country club. The plan is for her to sneak in as the worker at the country club. She's going to hide in the closet, get dressed as she wants to, and then Eva's going to text her to come out now. Some of the family is arriving. Of course, Nicole and Ted should have been the last ones in there, but they were there pretty early or whatever. Eva's there. Mona's asking, is there anything to help her with? And Eva says, no, everything's really taken care of. You just enjoy yourself. Kat talks with Mona a little bit about Eva and this Leslie person, and she's connecting the dots that they're just really getting here. Mona's giving TS when they even actually met in church. That was only a couple months ago. So they only been for a few months. So Leslie told them that Eva was just one of her friends' children that she ended up taking care of. Blah 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 blah, and that caught Kat. So she was telling Chelsea all the stuff that Mona was saying, and I gotta catch her, I gotta find her, da 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 da. Chelsea was like, well, what does she look like? Maybe I can help you find her. I think you're kind of on a wild goose chase. She said, well, she looks okay. Probably got one. Oh, I think she was talking about Leslie. She wanted to know where Leslie was, and also Eva. Like, she probably have on one of these cheap dollar wigs, dollar store wigs. Chelsea's like, kind of leave that alone. But she's the social media manager or whatever, and she's asking different ones. Martin and Kat, they got really, really playful in regards to who should be giving speeches and stuff. We find out that Smitty wrote his speech for Ted and Nicole, and now they're in a competition to see who's going to be the most sentimental with their speeches to the parents. Chelsea's interviewing ones about relationship stuff. Smitty said what he had to say, and they were like, oh, you don't want to hear what I got to say? I think Martin is more long-winded or something, or kind of straight-laced and rigid or something. I don't know. They talk with Anita and Vernon, and I think that's about it. Folks online were like, look, all I know is Chelsea better not have that phone out, because every time her phone is out, some type of scandal's about to break loose. Now, there was somebody that arrived to the party who is Ted's friend, Carlton. Carlton, I guess, showed up at the honors award thing, or the wedding, I forgot which one, but that's Ted's friend. Carlton's being played by Christopher Riley Ray, I think it is, or Christopher Riley, whatever. I've seen him in some things. He was on the reboot of Dynasty on the WB. But anyways, I kind of feel like he should be the one to recast Ted. He's got the aesthetic and this presence about him. But we do know Keith Robinson is taking over, and I think his first date is in May. I don't want to lose him, Mr. Maurice Johnson, I think it is. But yeah, I think that Christopher would have been more suited. It's no disrespect to Keith. It's just, I feel like Ted really filled in the role and gave it its own personality right off the cuff. So it's just like, dang. Oh, let's see. Oh, we go over to Bill and Haley. Of course, Haley's in this mode of, I feel so guilty that because of me, you can't be at Ted and Nicole's wedding and be amongst the friends, or not wedding, anniversary. It's just, stop it. Like, she is so corny to me. At this point, I would love to just hate you because of what you did to Danny. But it's just like, whatever. Who cares? Because you don't really play any significance. Danny's moving on, and you're still stuck here trying to get some type of importance. You don't really command the room. Your husband's got it, yeah. But I just don't see your significance. I'm waiting for something out of you, and it's just like, meh. Like, at this point, there's no point. You served your purpose. And Haley can go, unless they're going to have a bigger story for her to actually chomp her teeth into. It's just like, ugh, whatever. So they get on the subject of Ted having the perfect marriage and all that stuff, and Bill was like, well, you're not all that perfect, you know. And basically he had Haley guess what exactly is the faults of Ted, and she ended up guessing that Ted cheated on Nicole before. And she's sitting there and she's relishing in that, because like, these two who have been doing their stuff don't feel like that they're on the outskirts, because more people that try to hang their head high really should be hanging them where they're at, you know. I can't say I blame them for that in a way, especially if you got all these hidden secrets. Like, don't sit up here and look down on me when you've done this and that, and other. I can't. So Haley's there just, oh my God, yeah. Thanks, Ted. Thanks, Ted. So Nicole and Ted take Eva to the side and said, look, we don't really want to lose you after Laura gets back, and we have an offer for you. We can get you to take some classes for medical billing and stuff like that, and Ted could use you at his um, his practice and all that. Eva's really taken aback because nobody's really done anything nice for her like that. But they said, well, if you don't have an answer right now, think on it, come back to us. So at this point, Eva runs to Leslie and says, look, we can't do this. Leslie has changed at this point and she looks awesome. Let's just do something else. Please don't. And then, of course, Leslie fakes her out and says, okay, we don't have to do it, baby. And then she ends up locking Eva in the closet. So, Eva's yelling and all that for somebody to help her. Leslie sneaks in. Carlton, who is Ted's friend, comes by the door. They get someone to open up the door right in time for Eva to yell, or to come to the country club to try to stop things. Kat grabs her and says, we need to talk, da-da-da-da-da. You have some answers. Where is Leslie and all this other stuff? And Eva said, I ain't got time for that. Let me go. And she runs into the middle of the stage and Eva tells Nicole and Ted, we got to go right now. And Nicole's like, what's going on? Is this part of the anniversary gift? Like, no, you just got to go right now, da-da-da-da. And then all of a sudden Leslie shows up. And Ted says, what the heck? Helly. Leslie spills the beans on their affair and then finally reveals that Eva is her child. Too much for Nicole to handle. She runs out. Of course, Vernon was trying to stop everything from coming out. He doesn't know anything that's happening. However, he's trying to get Leslie to stop. So he says all the guests leave and then she can say everything. But she said no. Nobody's going to be leaving because everyone's interested to know what's going on. We find out that while Ted and Leslie were having an affair at the diner, she remembers Martin. Ted brought Martin up in there while he was doing his thing with this girl. And at that point, I just was in disgust of you, Ted. Because it's one thing to cheat on your wife, but then you're going to bring your child into all this crap so you can do what you do? I guess you were pretending to babysit him while bringing your child around this woman. That is crazy and nuts. Anything else was happening at that point? Ted confronts Eva. She said that she didn't know that she said that she aborted her. Mom put in my head for so long that you just abandoned us and all that stuff. I did not know. Ted at this point doesn't really want to deal with her and can't really look at her, and he's got to go to his wife. But on his way out, Martin has his day with him and pushes him and shoves him because now he remembers Leslie back at the diner and all that. And how could you do that? Da, 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 da. Ted goes home. Nicole's at the house. It's very dark. Kat is there and basically telling Ted, leave her alone. And is what was said at the thing true? And Ted said, look, I got to talk to your mom. Towards the end of the episode, Nicole comes down from her shower and they confront each other. They're just looking at each other. Back at the Dupree home, they all gather there and just in total shock or whatever. And next thing you know, Leslie shows up at the Dupree home. I'm like, what in the world? That's some audacity to do. I don't know how this is going to go because we still got to solve the mystery with this whole Laura thing. Now that the cat's out of the bag, Mona doesn't really like her. She left in disgust for Eva and all that stuff. So I don't know. I'm ready for some fallout. For Vanessa and Doug, Vanessa was in the hospital and she was going to miss the anniversary party. She heard about what happened and then said, oh, I got to get out of this hospital. I got to go check on Nicole. I'm glad that there are actually friends out there because Nicole is there for everyone. And I'm glad that this is a true friendship and Vanessa wants to be there. Doug and them have a conversation and Vanessa can't believe that Ted would just do all of this stuff. It's just not right. So then Doug kind of takes the fence and and Vanessa's like, I know you're not taking his side, da 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 da. He said, well, sometimes people cheat or stray. You should know that better than anyone. I said, what? So Doug knows about what Vanessa been doing? Well, Vanessa was in the hospital. She thinks that she's probably got food poisoning. How many think that maybe she's pregnant? I'm wondering. But anyways, that's all I have. Great week, great performance out of Trisha Grant Man. I forgot which one it is. Even the daughter Eva, they did a wonderful job this week. Bravo. So this was very great television. I guess it's a good way to go into May sweeps, even though we don't really exist anymore for whatever reason. But that's all I have. Leave your comments below what you think, what you're thinking, what's in your mind right now. Ted, I can't back you on this. I can't back you on this. I tried to find excuses for you. I tried to think that, no, you were trifling. All right, like, subscribe, share, and until the next one, peace.